And if you find this person asking you, can you work under pressure? Can you work with thunder striking you? Please, no, run for your life. You can't. I don't know if you can, you can take it, but me, I can't. Okay. I usually go like, my name is Eunice Victoria. My name is. Okay. Sometimes I go like, my name's R. Water break. Oh. This is the Skills to Grow Africa YouTube channel. My name is Eunice Victoria. I am a PR and marketing practitioner. I also help practitioners of marketing, communication, journalism, IR to thrive in their career. Please invite your friends who are practitioners in marketing, those who want to practice, those who want to learn about marketing, those in management, entrepreneurs, startuppers, and also if you're just someone who is freelancing, it's important to have this skill right now in 2023. Please subscribe. I'm just waiting for 5 more seconds so that we continue, because remember, this is a very important topic that we're going to have today. But if you don't invite your friends and family, then you're not being a good person. So please invite your friends and family so that we make this place a better world for all PR practitioners. From our last episode, we learned once you get that amazing email that we all look up to, that you have been invited for an interview and you know the place that you've been invited, we've learned that how do you prepare for that particular interview, from just your attire to even your hair to makeup to having a portfolio to even knowing where the interview is going to be, to even what you can do if you cannot have a laptop or a phone. Today, now we're going to learn, now that you are really prepared, and once you enter that door, where now you get this panel of amazing people who are inviting you into an interview, what do you do next? So once you enter an interview, there's this usually a weird moment where you're entering to meet new people, and then you don't know whether to greet, especially during Corona, to wave, greet, or chill. You know, it's usually very crazy. But sometimes what I do in such weird moments, awkward actually is the word, awkward moments, is just said, it's my first time here and it's quite awkward. I'm not sure whether to greet you or not. And then it will be like a moment where now you ni kama mna nini rapo, you get, and everyone will laugh. Yeah, you can greet us, or you can, just sit. No need to greet, or so on. Or sometimes when you have that awkward moment, don't just sit down and then die of anxiety. Sorry, I used die. In this case, die is a good word. So don't just be killed there with anxiety. I'm still using kill. Try to make it a joke. Just hear how you're feeling. I'm nervous. Should I greet? Should I, where can I sit? It's usually okay. Because in the past, we'd see people coming in that now, unaingia hivi, try to tell, my nephew is coming here to greet. Nephew, go back. Now, in the past, you'd be told, you know what, go and greet everyone, make sure the handshake is firm. Now it's a bit awkward, because sometimes you don't even want, some people don't want to be greeted, some people want to be greeted, and so on. Just say, ask, and that's how you build a rapport. Everyone likes to laugh. And welcome, you are finally seated, you're not anxious, you have your portfolio with you. Something else I didn't mention last time, what I usually do, especially for a PR role, I usually have about 4 copies of my portfolio. You can put it even in a 1-pager to kind of summarize what you've been doing for 10 years, 5 years, or even just one. Sometimes instead of telling, it's easier to see. Okay, sometimes even to prove your writing, you have some links. Some people even carry their phone so that as you talk, you can give to the interviewee. Okay, or the interviewees, it depends how many they are. So of course, in your panel, there's usually a PR practitioner or someone who's going to be your boss. Most of the time, they're PR practitioners, especially when it's entry level or mid management. For management, maybe you can have someone you're going to report to, like the CEO, the GM, and so on. There's also usually a HR professional. Sometimes you'll find even a marketing professional. Sometimes you just find someone who is invited because they usually mean, to intimidate you. Okay, but remember, these are just people like you who want to find out, are you really suited for this role? Okay, so of course the first question would be, tell us about yourself. So for me, I'm usually easy, so make sure there's nothing distracts you, you're not anxious, you're not nervous. It's just an interview. It's like me asking you, who are you? Okay, so in this case, who are you, like in the PR setup? So we don't want to know that you have a little girl. My nephew was coming here. I have a sister. I have what, my God is my savior. No, we just want to know career-wise as a PR practitioner, who are you, or what do you do? What are some of the things you've done very well? I usually go like, my name is Eunice Victoria. My name is. Okay, some people go like, my name's are. What a break. Oh. Yeah, so I usually go like, my name is Eunice Victoria. I am a PR practitioner, or sometimes you just mention the school you went through. My name is Eunice Victoria. I have a Bachelor of Arts degree in communication from Daystar University. After you share the school, now it's time for you to share your experience. You can start from when you started practicing, or when the last time you practiced. So it can be two-way. You can say, I started working in 2015 as a PR practitioner or as a PR officer at this organization, and then this is what I achieved. On that role, I managed 10 events. I launched 4 products and so on. And then make sure that you don't talk too much. Okay, so just try to mention the organization and maybe what you achieved, or the role that was it. And then also share that after, of course, you've shared your name, you've shared your education, you've shared your experience briefly, and then share that you're also looking to work with an organization like this one who can help me grow, my career to the next level. And usually that's it. Okay, so try as much as possible to remove your personal information, like the fact that you're a human being. We value you. Yeah, so just go straight to the point. As I mentioned, there'll be different people in the panel, and most of the time, the PR practitioner or the general manager, the person who is an expert or you're going to report to, will usually be the one asking most of the questions, and most of the time they'll be the one chairing the interview panel. So this is the person we want you to address, or you should address. Okay, of course you should also address, different people asking you the questions, but sometimes, most of the time, it's very good to address the chair, and usually they stand out. So in the part of the PR, some of the questions that I usually see, or we ask, or I see people asking, or I'm asked when I go for interviews, they'll ask you like, explain what is the role of a public relations specialist. When something I need you to remember all the time, PR is about relationships. You create and maintain that relationship between this organization and its publics. And before you go for an interview, identify the organization and identify their publics. Okay, in many organizations, the most important, especially in the corporate sector, is usually the customer and the media. Okay, sometimes also the internal the staff. So most of the time it's the customers, media, and internal staff. So that's why we usually have internal communication. We have the social media coming in with the customers and websites and so on. And then we have media, which is usually media relations. So try to find ways to answer the questions that show that you're going to create and maintain this relationship with their most important publics. It's usually different in the NGO sector, because in the NGO sector, the donor is usually very important, and also the society, I don't know what to call it, but I get the right word. So make sure you determine who are the most important stakeholders, and that's how you answer this question. The second question that I usually see interviewers asking PR specialists in an interview, especially in the entry level, I see them asking, where do you think can a PR specialist work? Especially, this is just to see, are you, especially in the how do I call it, agency, if they want to see, are you at par with where a PR practitioner can work? can you get clients from different sectors? So this is an answer you can just to answer this question, you try to figure out where do you think a PR practitioner can work. For instance, a PR practitioner can work in a PR firm as an account manager, as a consultant, and so on. A PR practitioner can work directly with clients as a consultant. Okay, they can also work, in a media house. They can work in an NGO. They can work for the government. A PR practitioner can create their own PR firm and work as an entrepreneur. They can work for in an NGO, and there are different sectors. Okay, so this is something good about this practice is that it has so many opportunities that you can venture into, and also it's very important to also try to do this in your first 5 years of work. Personally, I've worked for the NGO sector. I've worked for a startup. I've worked for my own organization, Skills to Grow Africa. I've worked for corporate organizations. I've worked as a consultant. I've almost done all of this that I'm talking about here. I've even created my own media house and so on. So it's very important to try that in your first 5 years of work, so that you get to know which one now you can take as a career. Remember, there's a difference between a job and a career. A career is long term, and most of the time with your career, it's like you're always opening up to find out what is it can I do next. Yeah, a job is just a job. Sometimes people take jobs for money, be desperate to learn, and so on. So a job is not necessarily your career. The third question that I usually see a PR practitioner is asked, okay, especially in entry level. I wanted to start with entry level because that's where the foundation is. What skills are required for a PR specialist? In the past, especially in the last episode, I told you about writing being very important, in PR. So a PR practitioner should be able to write, and soon we'll have an episode on how to write. Remember, you cannot write if you don't write. Okay, you cannot read how to write to learn how to write. The only way to learn how to write is to write. Okay, so you should be able to write. If you come to our programs, the Advanced Skills to Grow program for everyone interested in a PR career, the Young PR Practitioner program, and all the other programs in PR, you're expected to have a blog whereby you write, so that we see you started writing today, then how has your writing improved in the next 3 months. Okay. Number 2, you're required to be creative. Okay. Today I was just learning how to use TikTok, and that thing requires creativity and time. Okay, so remember also PR is a creative process for you to create and maintain that relationship. Different people have different ways of how they want to be reached to. Remember, this is just building a relationship with people. Okay, it also requires you to have good judgment. It requires you to have good judgment. You should always have values that helps you judge a situation and find out how to solve problems. You should also be willing to work according to a client or an organization's schedule, especially in the agency. With agency, the service that the particular agency is selling is the work you can do. You are the service. So if client needs you to develop a holding statement at 8 because there's a crisis, Victoria has to do it. You have to do it. Okay, so also remember that's quite important. A PR practitioner must be confident. Okay, you have to be confident, you have to be enthusiastic, and you have to be understanding. So meaning you have to make sure that you're choosing the right institution to work for. You can choose an institution because you just want to get the money, and then it doesn't work for you, and then you start feeling like you're a bad PR practitioner, but you just didn't do your work, your homework to try to identify, am I able to work in such an institution? Also remember that as much as you're also looking for a job, the organization is also looking for a practitioner like you who can help them, on their bottom line, narrate their bottom line depending on what they want to achieve. Sometimes they'll ask you, what are the segments of interactive PR or interactive public relations? So, interactive public relations is a process that uses the internet, really, internet to communicate. So that's like search engine, social media, online press release, podcasting, webinars, blogs, and so on. Okay. Sometimes also I see them asking, what are some of the social media optimization or monitoring tools? Okay. So tools like Hotsuite and TweetDeck and, among others. Sometimes you'll also be asked on how, for instance, they'll try to ask you how you work within a team. They might ask you, maybe give us a situation whereby, you manage to work well within your team. So this is where you come up with your leadership skills, problem solving skills and so on. And it's usually very good to come up with a situation, a real situation. Sometimes they'll also ask you, what are the challenges you faced before in your PR career? Okay. You can give example like media relations. There's a time that you needed to work with a certain media house, but you didn't manage to get publicity there. Then what did you do next? Did you pitch another angle? Did you create a better relationship with the media? Did you go to visit the media house and so on? These are just some, what I'm giving you is just some foundational questions that you're asked from all levels, but of course there are usually more questions about the PR practice. Remember that you have to go to the fundamental definition of what PR is. The rest are usually just tactics. Sometimes you'll be asked questions about a communication strategy, questions about a public relations plan. You'll be asked about, have you worked with a budget before, and so on. As I said, among the panelists will also be a HR practitioner. So the HR practitioner will usually ask you the HR, human resources aspect of working. That means this is the person will ask you about your salary, ask you about work-life balance. They'll ask you about, values and so on. Usually this is what they are supposed to. Yeah. This question about salary is usually very important, because sometimes they'll ask you, how much do you want? While it's your first time applying, you don't know. So usually in this case, you use my formula of how much will I need to survive, not really, usually for my needs, not wants. If I want a car, this is not what to say there. For your needs, maybe just basic needs. Entry level, sometimes for an intern, is usually in Kenya between 15,000 or sometimes 10,000, between 15,000 and about 25,000 Kenyan shillings. And usually this amount is not taxed. Okay, so for entry level is usually now about 26,000 to about 65,000 usually, which is usually taxed. That's the immediate entry level, depending on the organization. And then now, after entry level, now mid-management level, it usually goes from 66,000 to around 130,000. And management level will now go, I don't know, up to, for me, it has gone up to 400,000 in Kenya. But usually this depends on the organization you work with, how the value that you're bringing, and how also you manage to convince them about your worth. So also there's usually this person in an interview who is brought because they are intimidating. So make sure you stick to your values, stick to who you are. You should not come out of an interview feeling with your low self-esteem, with low self-esteem. Okay, so these are just people who want to give a little pressure on you to see how you handle pressure, which I usually don't advocate for. Okay, because different people are facing different things, and it's important not to intimidate someone or put so much, how do I call it? Let's call it too much pressure or bad blood on someone just to see how they'd react. Personally, I usually say I love soft life. And sometimes you ask questions like, this man will ask you like, can you work under pressure with limited budget? And will bring all this, such an environment. You know, some people say, yes, I can fly, or yes, I can work with no budget, or and so on. You see, that will be a toxic environment for you. You know, there's an organization that I worked for. I worked for this organization where someone will just come from nowhere and shout at you. I can hear your cousin. Anyway. Yeah. So there's usually this person who will be put in the panel because they want to test how, you know, which environment best suits you. So for instance, for me, I work within an environment that is not toxic. And by toxic, I mean, I wouldn't appreciate if people shout at one another in an office, or maybe a boss who doesn't speak with you, so you don't understand if you're performing well or not, or a situation where people are just doing things that you don't find fitting your values. Okay, so make sure that you take that question seriously. And if you find this person asking you, can you work under pressure, can you work with thunder striking you, please no, run for your life. You can't. You I don't know, if you can take it, but me, I can't. Okay, I can't. Now, there's usually a very important aspect in the interviewing process where you're asked now, do you have any question for us? And many people never utilize this. I think the last time I didn't utilize that question, I worked for the wrong organization and felt like a bad PR practitioner, which I wasn't. Okay, so this is where you want to find, how does this organization work? Okay, what are the most important values? How do they treat their employees? Okay, so when do you get paid? Because sometimes you work for an organization, they prefer, you know, you're giving service to the community, so you're not supposed to ask about payment. But if you went there because you want to make a life for yourself, you know, that's not the correct environment for you. This once I asked in an interview about, I asked the interviewer, what do you like most about this organization? The interviewer actually told me, we focus on our work. We want to see results. That's not an important question for us here. You see, if someone gives you that type of answer, it means they really don't care about their employee. This is someone who, the beginning of terror. Something also that is usually very important, actually, that we underlook, is the values. If you work in an organization and you don't know your values, and everybody, remember, has values, then it will be quite difficult if you don't know. I've worked in an organization whereby our values didn't match at all. For instance, I had a friend who was very religious, and she dressed in very long dresses, and you know, that were not revealing at all. So for me, I'd dress just you know, trendy, but according to my friend, it wasn't right. So I think we also had to end the friendship because I wasn't religious enough, I'd call it that way. So both of these people are right. The values that my friend had are different from the values that I had. Okay, so I am right here, my friend is also right. So imagine if this was an organization. This organization has these particular values, and also you have these values and you're clashing, it's different. You see, it won't work. The relationship won't work. And that's how you find out that sometimes you're fired from an organization, you leave the organization, you find the organization toxic and so on. It's just because you didn't find the opportunity to ask about the values so that you see if are they matching. And that's how some of the people also usually thrive well in an organization, because they understand their values, they understand the organization's values, they understand the values that they can just, basically that's what I mean. Okay, remember also that when you come out from that interview, you are a star. We congratulate you for reaching that part whereby you're invited for an interview. I'm very happy that you dressed very well. I'm very happy that you researched and answered all the questions. So I wish you all the best in your interview. Please remember to comment there after your interview. Please let me know other questions that you asked. Please also invite your friends to come here and watch with you. And remember also to sign up for the Skills to Grow program. We have different programs. The Advanced Skills to Grow program, this is usually for everyone who wants to learn, but we have the one that targets guys from 3rd year, 4th year and 0 years experience. That is the Young PR Practitioner program. We also have the PR Pro program for someone with 5 to about 11 years experience. We are going to introduce a new program called PR to CEO program, because sometimes I've gotten so many people saying, now that I'm a PR manager, what next? I feel like there's nothing else to do. Remember, a PR practitioner can become the CEO of an organization. There's still a lot of opportunities for you to grow in that organization, and remember that you're worthy. This was the second part of the interview process. Remember, there is the final part, which is now what do you do after an interview? After now you've gone home, and they've closed the door, what do you do next? We'll find this out on our next episode. Thank you very much for listening to me. All the best and God bless.